I don't like this chair, Christine. I don't like this chair.
You want to comment on it? When you look at when you looked over? Do you want to comment? Do you want to comment on it? No.
I call this meeting to order of the Community and Economic Development Committee. I would like to make note that we didn't lose anybody during the recess. And I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of August the 9th, 2007.
So move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is carried. Before we took a break, I had mentioned that the meeting will have the pleasure to have a presentation by the city manager. And with that, I'd like to give him the floor to give his presentation.
Can
Thank
I
you,
just ask one question? I'm sorry. Which one we going by? The one that was put in front of us?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
for the floor. To answer your first question is, we're having a problem with our copier.
Okay.
And the first copy that you had two sheets, two different types. So the executive secretary and her efficiency gave you a new updated copy. So the last copy is the best copy. There's only two small changes to it.
Thank you.
It's not significant, but we wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page. To begin, the purpose of this economic development discussion is to once again revisit where we are with our economic development. It was brought to my attention by a few of the aldermen as to they wanted to know what we're doing with economic development. So this is what we're going to do with this discussion. To begin with, what I put up before you here on the board was from a presentation that was at the Illinois Municipal League in Chicago, and I believe Alderman Winger and I attended this. And this is a way to kind of start looking at economic development. And that was a topic of discussion, I think it was last year or the year before that, Alderman Winger, I can't remember. But it shows when I went there, I did take notes. And what they wanted you to do when you look at economic development is to consider what they call the 4 stages of unmanaged economic development. And that is euphoria, uncertainty, delusion, and opposition. And so with that, we'll start the discussion. What do we need to actually avoid these unmanaged stages? Well, of course, we talked about tonight, we need strategic planning. And strategic planning is short term. That's basically addressing the critical issues and available resources. We also need comprehensive planning. This is our comprehensive plan. This is the look at the community and the general look and provide the concepts and the vision. The assistant manager and Ross have already started work on updating our comprehensive plan in-house, and I'll turn it over to.
Just to deviate from the PowerPoint for a second, the city, since the city's original comprehensive plan, we've had 3 updates. The last update was in 1997, so it's been over 10 years since we've updated that. We're actually required to update it, so we're just fulfilling requirements on that. Before we did have a consultant do all the work. It gets quite expensive. We do have people on staff now that are capable enough to do the comprehensive report in-house. So we have begun analyzing the old comprehensive reports and are going to begin doing the update on the new comprehensive report as soon as we get a couple policy questions ironed out.
Okay, before we talk about strategic planning, why are we interested in doing economic development? Of course, we're interested because we have to promote the city's future, and we have to be concerned about having funding for our infrastructure needs. Strategic planning. I have in your handout the basic elements are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These are the elements that we should consider when we do local strategic planning. We have not done a analysis currently, and this is one of the things that I would like to suggest for a future strategic planning meeting. We have several other things already that we have to meet on, but in the future I would like to do this. We did send out a questionnaire to the council members, and I did receive a couple of the questionnaires back, but we have not had any interest in scheduling a meeting to do this analysis. It was interesting to note that when we went out and we asked all the surrounding communities to give us a copy of their comprehensive plan, we did an analysis of that, and one of the better comprehensive plan was from the city of Des Plaines. I included that in your packet for two reasons. One, to give you an idea what we could do, or what you could do as a council, and what staff can do as far as making recommendations, and with this threat analysis. And it was kind of interesting that Des Plaines is going through many of the things that we're going through. So if you use that in the future, if you want to recommend a strategic planning session to look at our strengths and weaknesses so that we can benefit from that, which will help us with the direction of where we want to go. In addition to that, very soon, in another month or two, we're going to be doing the comprehensive citizen survey based on the national survey. So we'll be getting the input from all our residents as well, and we're going to be encouraging them to complete the questionnaire by providing a $5 discount on their water bill. So we are into the process, and we're ready to move forward. We talked tonight about scheduling a strategic planning meeting. We're going to be doing this on B4 zoning. Next. Okay. Also in the packet on page 4 are the economic development thoughts. I'm certainly not going to go through those, however, but I'm just reiterating what and why we do this, so that if you have any questions on some of these things, and we get to the point, okay, why haven't we been engaged more directly in economic development? Where are the new stores? How come we haven't had change? We've had some, and we're working with what we have, but we need, before we can get that to happen, we need to know the answer to these questions. We did hire an economic development consultant. He did prepare some basic reports, but right now we're waiting to answer these questions, and that's why this slide was provided. Okay. Before we move on to the policy decisions or questions, does anybody have any questions on any of the material? It's late and we don't have to go. I managed to do that quicker than we thought. I just wanted to hit the highlights. And the first plan that we want to consider a policy on is what are we going to do with the existing train station. I did receive in the last couple days a pre-existing plan that's been approved by Metra. That was suggested by Alderman Kadala that we consider that. And Metra found one plan that was almost $1 million at 1.1. You have that plan before you. This is one of the options. What we can do is we can basically look at going out and rebidding remodeling of the existing station, and that's outlined here, a new roof, try to add the washrooms, new air conditioning, heating, do the interior makeover. We don't know what the cost is going to be. It may be close to that. We could rebid the existing plans because the bids have expired and they did come in over the amount. We could add additional dollars and go for a larger plan. We can look at possibly doing something else with the money for the train station. I don't know if we legally can do that. Or we can look at the existing plan that we have available for Metra. All as we would like you to do tonight is to consider that, maybe discuss that, what direction you'd want to have us go in regard to the train station. If you're not ready to make that decision tonight, we can basically wait, give you some time to think about it, If there's any comments, concerns, or questions, we're ready to take those.
Regarding the train station, I mean, as far as the train station, that area over there by the parking lot, that's one of the areas we're looking at the B4. And depending on what kind of development goes in there, I mean, this project and that project can go work side by side. I mean, we have some of the money, the developer, I mean, we own the property, so, I mean, we can work out some kind of incentives or something. He's gonna have to put in a parking garage for the train and whatnot. So that one might have to wait till we get the B4 set. Just an idea.
Police, I think that's a good idea to bring up that they should be incorporated together, the B4 and the train station. Alderman Wesley?
Well, the donation money is, see what we could do with that donation money. My recommendation is, I say we leave it in a account that's earmarked just for that. Because eventually we are going to do something. There's no doubt about it. Eventually we're going to do something with the train station. But to take that money and put towards something else in the community, I don't recommend that because those developers gave us that money for the train station. And where I'm concerned, that money belongs at the train station, regardless if we go down the line. My question to you, Frank, on the plan that was submitted, that was here today, that's what they, Metro recommend or what they approve if we would go ahead with it, or?
The question was, are there any, rather than rebid the existing plan, which the majority apparently of council members or didn't feel was appropriate for the price, are there other plans that we wouldn't have to go out and get another architect that were already pre-approved by Metra? I did contact Metra, and basically this is the plan they came up with. This is the closest thing and basically the cheapest one they had. Within that plan, we could, since that's, I believe, 1,900 square feet, and our current station is 1,200 square feet, we could modify that existing plan and shrink it down. If it was desired for us to go forward with that, staff would investigate looking at this as a possible alternative.
Okay, my other question, if you don't mind me doing a follow-up on that. Where are you looking at the possibility of getting additional money? Say we did go ahead and vote for this train station tonight, which there won't be a vote tonight, but where are you looking at additional money to offset the cost? What, from where?
Well, we originally looked at the maintenance of the train lot. What we do is we collect money, and that goes in to maintain the lot. And if you look at the budget, you'll find that over the years, we basically transfer some of that money directly to the general, to the general fund for general use. So that money is building up. At the end of this year, we probably will have some extra money in that, and that's what it's for, to maintain that area and maintain the train station. We currently only use a small portion of that money to maintain the portable washrooms and to have it cleaned on a regular basis. So that would be part of it. We can look at money from tourism. We generally have extra money in that regard. It really is at your direction. If you want us to look for the extra money, we could come up with where we could get it from, and you know, once we know how much we're looking at and how much we have to work with. The previous proposal, we were trying to keep it within a certain amount, and we would have to do the same with this proposal. If you're ready to give us direction, or if you're ready to make some kind of commitment, or the majority of you feel we should move in some direction on this, like in the next couple weeks, months, or whatever. We have no idea when and if that parking lot will change and when that development will come for that area. But that is another consideration, just to wait until that comes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Winger?
Thank you. Right now, I'm aware, or I understand we have two different train stations that we could build. One's a $660,000 project. The other would be right around 1.1 million, roughly. And those are the plans we have right now in front of us. And in terms of which to do, you know, I think we get everything that we need, the insides, with the $660,000 one. However, I know there's discussion of waiting until we have B4 in place, but I really feel that B4 is, I look at it like the framework it's a plan, and it's there to put in front of developers saying, here's what we have to offer, here are our rules, here's a framework, do you want to come into Wooddale? But we need to have something more to attract developers to a community that has assets and it has amenities. Amenities is a word. Like a nice train station, like places to go for foot traffic. Those kinds of things that make a city great. And I'd like to see us go forward and put in some amenities that attract people and attract businesses and make them want to come to Wooddale. Businesses, if they see train station, a nice one, if they see a nice community clean with the different gardens we're doing, that's what I feel attracts good businesses. And that's what I want to see done. So we need to make an investment in our community. And I say the time is now to move on the train station. Thank you.
Do I understand you to imply that you favor a larger square footage?
I favor the $660,000 train station that we had planned on because I'm most comfortable with it. It has what we need on the inside. I'm focused more on a clean appearance. It doesn't have to make a major statement, in my opinion, but it has the coffee shop inside. It has the restrooms. It has what would attract riders to Wooddale instead of using Bensonville or instead of using Itasca. There's a lot of riders that are in between both areas, and let's make them choose Wooddale and make them come through our community.
Alderman Cole, you had your hand up.
Yeah, you say you have the plans for they just sent you the photographs of that,
We have a copy of the plans.
Of the plans.
I only provided each member the top copy, and I did give a copy of the plans to Alderman Kadala to look at because he's familiar with plans, and we looked at it briefly, but I just got these like 2 days ago, and we didn't order the full set of plans. They sent me these plans to look at. This is one station they had available, and it's probably the only one.
inside plans or just with the, like,
Yes, it's the complete plan. What it would be is, for example, we would have to design exactly where you want to put the washrooms inside, but there's plenty of space. Also, you could take the plan and shrink it down, so it necessarily wouldn't have to cost 1.1 million.
all right.
The question was, are we still considering the old plans? Do we want to look at a new plan? Do we want to do a combination, or do we want to just remodel? I would agree with Alderman Police. Eventually, we would have to redo that area. This would be the basic thing. This would be the beginning, starting. This is not going to be the end all of what we all would want to be. That would come in the future, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, based on what really is going to happen with that area. But this would be the basic. This could always, whatever you decide to do now, could always be expanded. It was never, ever designed to be the end all. Some of the things to consider is vertical. I know, again, Alderman Kadala talked about that. He's and again, I'm not going to speak for him. Maybe he could, when you recognize him, he could give his opinion.
Alderman Kadala?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is looking for direction, so all I think at this point I can do is, kind of make my points of view known. First of all, the question, what do we do with the dollars that have been granted for this project so far? I don't see anything else but to say absolutely and without any doubt that this money should stay with the train station project. Second, in regards to the plans that were, the drawing that was passed out tonight, In a discussion with former Alderman Marshall Subak, he had mentioned that he had remembered hearing that that Metra had some stock plans, basically plans of train stations that have been built in recent years. So obviously they're approved by Metra. The only one, and Mr. Williams followed up on this, the only one even close to our price point is the smallest and least expensive out of everything they've built recently, which comes in about $1.1 million. I saw it today for the first time. It's okay. It still doesn't have that wow factor that I'm looking for. Alderman Winger talked about you know how Wooddale should be great. I'm paraphrasing, so please forgive me. But you used the word great, and there's nothing great about the Kluber and Skahan or Skahan Kluber plans, and there's really nothing great about this Edison Park plan that's sitting on our desk. And so I guess from just having taken a quick look at it today, I'm not in love with it, at least not at this point. Which brings me to the next point. I'm not in favor of spending time to rebid that $660,000 plan that we saw a few months ago. It doesn't have, once again, it doesn't have what I think it needs to have to be significant. And we did talk about things to add to it, but once you add those things to it, the architect's budget was well over $2 million. And I can't swallow that either. To address Alderman Police's theory of waiting for B4 and the Metro lot to develop, we'd actually discussed this previously, and when I first heard the idea, I liked it. But now, really thinking of the logistics and the reality of it, it could be far too far out to wait for that. So I think Mr. Manager is correct in that. We should at least consider that is a distant future, and that we might want to think about doing something now. But the big thing is that I'm really looking for something that is architecturally significant, something that does have a vertical element, a tower. We're talking about B4, which is increased density, and we're talking about 6-story buildings. Staff presented something bigger than that, but even scaling it down to 6-story buildings, a ranch-style train station, which was at $660,000 one, is going to kind of get lost in the middle of all that. Even the plan we're looking at today is, it's essentially 1.5 stories. It doesn't have the height. It still doesn't have that vertical piece. I still think that there might be a possibility of a remodeling of the existing station without altering the structure, and perhaps a tower connected to and adjacent to it, and then refacing everything. Or maybe something new all the way around that does, in fact, include the restrooms, because we do need that. But I guess I kind of went around in a big circle here. But I mean, I'm hoping that we'll be able to figure out something to do that doesn't take so much money that it's going to take us 10 years to come up with that money. I'm hoping to do something that is not considered temporary off the bat either, because I've seen temporary things that have to live for 30 or more years, and I don't want to spend even the $660,000 for something that we know from day one is going to be temporary. You look at all the other nice stations that have gone up. I just drove by Wheaton's over the weekend. I mean, that's a structure that's going to be there for 100 years, and yeah, obviously that's a budget buster, quite possibly for us. But I really think we need to be thinking more along those lines. This is ground zero. This is the center of the downtown, the future downtown, and the B4. And Alderman Winger is right. We need to do something to enhance future developments and entice future developments, and this needs to be special. So thank you.
Thank you for the comment, and I'd like to recognize Alderman Police.
One quick note. I mean, I mentioned the B4. Tonight we said we're going to set up these special meetings. Within 60 days, we'd like to at least iron out the text of the B4. So let's say by Christmas time, hopefully we've ironed it out and we've got something in place. Who's to say that a developer doesn't come in and say, hey, listen, we're looking to develop this lot, and as far as the commuter lot, we own it, so we can change it to B4, it's not like we have to have a hearing for that lot. A developer may want to come in and say, well, we can use this property right here as a B4. You might have 2 or 3 guys come in January and looking for some kind of project that can all be incorporated. I mean, I know this sounds like I'm fast tracking or something, but I'm just asking, wait a couple months, see if we get this B4 in place. I also agree, we need to do something with the train station, and the money should stay right where it is for the train station. That's all.
Alderman Cole?
I may not have a degree in engineering, or I may not, but I did take a lot of architect drafting in school, and I would like to see the plans too, because I haven't seen no plans yet. I would like to see them, because I have ideas, and sometimes I have a lot of common sense where things got to be changed a little bit. And I would personally like to see the plans before we decide on anything. I mean, you've seen them, and you're the only one that's seen them. I says, what about all the rest of us? All the rest of us like to see something too.
Well, let's ask Mr. Williams if he can get the plans for you to see.
We can provide everyone a copy. I was unaware of what direction you wanted to go. Again, if we should even make copies of these plans, because it's not something, it is something that would have to be modified based on what we have. But you're more than welcome. I will make you a copy, and anyone else who would want to consider this. As I indicated when we started, we're not asking for a decision tonight. We're asking to start the process to begin thinking, so that when we go into the budget, we can decide what we're going to do. If it's the intent that we should, as we do the budget, start a fund for this, then maybe that's the direction you want to go. Whatever this is, we'd like to get some direction from the committee.
I thought we already had a fund. I thought Alderman Wesley brought that up. There is a fund, and anything else you'd add to it?
That's correct. We have, but in order to get to a certain point, it would be nice to know that's what you want us to do. So the direction would be to continue to build the fund, if that's the consensus, or to consider other alternatives, or to consider a remodel.
I think they're parallel steps. The left foot is building up the money, and the right foot is walking towards the decision. Okay. Alderman Kadala?
Back to Alderman Police. I don't mean to turn it into a debate between you and me, buddy. But the idea that B4 could be in place by the holidays is a possibility, and the idea that a developer could feel really hot about it by the beginning part of the year is also a possibility. But some of the big things that I took away from that design charrette that night was that we've got a serious traffic management problem. So as we increase the density, we've got to figure out a way to get cars in and out of there. And I think the possibility of another Metra grade crossing kind of towards the east end of the lot might be necessary. Another cut into Irving might be necessary, perhaps a light at Irving. So we may have Metra and IDOT that might be part of getting a lot of vehicles in and out of here. And I don't think either of those entities have a real strong history of being able to move anything along fast. So that's, if it wasn't for that, I would dream as big as you are right now about that. But I think I'm skeptical enough to know that those two things right there could push anything off by years. My thinking, so.
Alderman Police, I know you want to respond.
Don't swear.
I understand about the Metra and IDOT and all that stuff, and that's fine. I mean, it might take time for the other stuff, but if we do get a developer interested, that could be one of the first things that goes up. But I'm looking at, we got this treasury report tonight, the commuter parking lot fund here. Am I reading this right? We got about 670,000 on that, in that fund?
Yes, I don't have my copy, but that's what it says. Yeah, that's what we have in there now. And that includes the money we have for the train station.
Oh,
Some
that
of
includes the.
Oh, yes. That's
350.
where we're holding, yes, that's
So
where we're holding it.
That's why it's so high.
Right.
So it's not
And-
350 plus 670.
No, it's all in there. Yes.
Alderman Wesley, can you take over?
Yeah, Frank, let me ask you these questions. How bad's that roof right now?
Basically, the roof is almost falling off, from what we can determine. We did replace all the windows and we did replace the doors, and we do have it cleaned on a regular basis, and we do have cameras in there, and that helps. But the roof is not doing well. It needs some work. It's going to need maintenance
So
anyway.
it's probably going to need a new roof put on it.
As soon as, yes, I would
Okay.
say
The air conditioning and heating unit, how bad's that?
non-existent.
Oh, okay. What will it cost to, say we don't pick a design here now, or we don't decide. I think I'm leaning to leaving that building intact and trying to remodel it with a facial brick. Put the washrooms in there, coffee shop. Just bring it up to date, more modern, because then we bring it up to that. Then if there before zoning comes in, then the guy it won't cost us as much, because maybe the developer will come and build a train station and we aren't out a lot of money. If that's what the sense is that I'm getting here with the before zoning is playing a part of this, maybe we need to just really downsize this, put our washrooms in there, put the new roof on. You know, maybe add on a little bit for a coffee shop, but downsize this really big, and then see if the B4 turns out, and then if he's got to level it, we didn't invest $100,000 or $1 million trains. I don't know. That's an option we could throw out here. I mean,
It's hard to have a coffee shop in winter without heat.
I'm just throwing that out because right now we're looking at maybe next year we got to put a brand new roof on that thing. That's what I'm getting an impression here. So, I mean, that's my suggestion. So.
Alderman Winger?
Thank you. I've heard expandability referenced a couple times here, and I know that our first set of plans, the $660,000 one, it has a nice structure, but it's expandable. You know, I mean, maybe if we get the B4 and developer wants to come in, they may add on to that. They may put in a few shops right next to the coffee shop or whatnot. So it's and build the tower and make it more dramatic and maybe a footbridge over to what they want to do, the parking garage or what have you. So I really do think we have to start somewhere. And if we do explore rebuilding the existing, I thought we had an issue with the walls, that they had to come down. Or are we able to now do that?
If I am mistaken, the issue with the walls were if we put a new, extend that roof. Was I right or wrong on that one?
Alderman Cadala?
From having reviewed the plans and discussing this with the architect, the issue was that that they were trying to put that timber construction roof structure up there and have the cathedral ceiling with the big heavy wood beams. And the existing walls, according to the architect's engineer, can't support that, but obviously the existing walls support the existing roof as it is right now. So re-roofing it isn't gonna, as long as they do a tear-off, isn't gonna add any weight whatsoever. So I think the building is fine to stand there on its own. The issue was changing the roof structure without adding to the structural integrity of the walls.
Thank you. City Manager Williams?
Yes, since it's past 10:30 and there's two council members that are not present tonight, maybe perhaps we should end the discussion and take this up at another time unless there's other questions. This is to give you some indication, and those that request copies of the plans, I'll make sure that you get a copy. Alderman Coles will get a copy. Anyone else?
Alderman Winger?
Thank you. Well, I at least want to wrap up this segment of if we do rebuild the existing. And I'd like to know how many of us want to do that.
Well, you heard from me.
Okay, so let's take a vote. How many, well, this is impromptu. This is not binding or anything. This is not a binding. This is just to give her an answer to her question. How many of the 6 of us are leaning towards only improvement? Wesley?
Only improvement at this time.
Police?
No, I'd rather get a new station.
I'm no. What about you, Alderman Winger?
I would entertain both options, the new or the rebuild. I would. Let's do something
Alderman
now
Kadala?
is my thing.
It's just a vote, impromptu vote. Alderman Kadala?
I'm along for the same ride as Alderman Winger. It depends on a lot of things. I could see new. I could see working with the existing.
Alderman Coles? Okay, did this impromptu give an answer to your question, Alderman Winger?
No.
I agree with Frank.
Let me say then, yeah, everybody is at this point, I think we're going to have to come back and bring it up either at an executive session or bring it up as part of the meeting that we would have outside of the regular meetings. We were talking about with the B4, we can have a similar meeting to discuss this with the architect plannings so that we can look at it in depth and with the councils, with the council being accompanied by staff and an engineer so that we can really come to a conclusion on this and get moving so when spring comes we can break ground. Okay. The last thing on the economic development planning is that we are going to go ahead now with Land Vision. That is correct. And we've got the contract prepared. And did you find out if it's been signed or not?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're supposed to, they're supposed to come in and sign it on Monday. And then the mayor's been authorized to sign it as soon as they sign it.
Okay. I'd like to point out on this how staff and council work together. As you know, I rewrote the insurance clause for the contract. I rewrote it in the form of a boilerplate so it could be used for many different types of contracts for different things, from a painter to working on the train station. One of the things that we talked about was the umbrella coverage, and in that we said that I proposed and you all agreed to that it would be discretionary on the manager's part. And there are 5 discretions that we had, which was no umbrella, because if you have somebody like a janitor who comes in and mops the floor, his basic coverage is sufficient. You have somebody who works on the railroad, $5 million may be mandatory because of the railroad, trying to think with the RTA's rules. So we have 6 levels of choice, 6 choices at 6 levels of risk. And I'd like to point out that the manager chose the $2 million level of risk for the Land Vision contract. So the boilerplate will stay manager's choice, but when it actually goes into a contract, the manager will tell the lawyer what level of risk he wants the insurance to cover. And I'd like to finish this by asking City Manager Williams to tell us that that was his choice and that he intends to use the same discretion on every contract.
Chairman.
Okay. Unless anybody has any questions, I see one out there.
I
I've got actually a future item, if it's at all possible to get it placed on the agenda. I had prepared a report tonight on master developer scenario. I know a couple aldermen were at the charrette workshop for the station area, and staff did look into the master developer scenario. So there's a report forthcoming on that. I was going to do it tonight, but it's getting kind of late. So if we can put that on a item for a future meeting, so we can discuss that as a possibility.
Yes. Not only can we put it on for a future meeting, but at breakfast this morning, I discussed that with the city manager, and I asked them that when you do come forward with it at a later date, and we did discuss it would be a later date, that you give actual examples of who the master would be. At least 3 examples of who you would choose to be the masters.
I
Well, you don't have to answer it now, because it's for the future. Okay. Any other questions? And that'll, let us put that down as an item for future then. It was going to be brought up on one of the future ones, it's just being put in there, but now that you've made it known, let us memorialize it by putting it down on this. Are there any other comments on the entire idea of the economic development plan? Then, do I hear someone recommending adjournment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.